principals trade unions suspend online teaching programs and stage a protest at the Lipton Circus. Who gave the order to quarantine those who were released on bail by courts?
පොලිසිය වැඩ කළේ සෞඛ්‍ය අධ්‍යක්ෂ ජෙනරාල්වරයාගේ නියෝග පිට.
කණ්ඩායම් සහ අවම ප්‍රමාණය පිළිබඳ සංඛ්‍යාවල් දක්වලා තියෙනවා. උද්ඝෝෂණ පිළිබඳව වෙන විශේෂයෙන් සඳහනක් නැහැ මාර්ගෝපදේශයේ.
What is this policy of the government to suppress the media that speaks of the true issues faced by the people? Opposition leader raises questions again. What does Udaya Gammanpilla's political future look like?
Ballu Buravi, Burana Ballanta Galganda Naturu Unod, Mage Gamana Mate and Berino. Sa Ballanta Burandi Dila, Mama Idireta.
In local news, the second phase of the digitization process of the Colombo Stock Exchange began at the Presidential Secretariat recently under the auspices of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
The Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka and the Colombo Stock Exchange launched the first phase of digitization of Sri Lanka's capital market last September. The Securities and Exchange Commission points out that 17,000 new central depository accounts have been opened with over 65,000 new investors. With digitization, investors will be able to transact in Sinhala, Tamil or English medium from anywhere, receive monthly publications, exchange and modify information, as well as open accounts for local companies.
The newly appointed Minister of Finance, Basil Rajapaksa, said that he will prioritize the implementation of the vistas of prosperity in the country. Minister Basil Rajapaksa made this statement during a meeting with former provincial councillors of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
The first meeting of the former Provincial Council representatives of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna after the new Finance Minister was sworn in was held at the Temple Trees yesterday. The former Provincial Council representatives had expressed confidence in Basil Rajapaksha's ability to revive the economy similar to what was done in 2006 and 2007. The attendees had pointed out that during the war in 2006, 2007 and 2008, when Sri Lanka's foreign reserves fell to $1.2 billion, Basil Rajapaksha was able to revive the national economy through the development of the rural economy. During the meeting, Basil Rajapaksha said that he will prioritize the implementation of the President's manifesto, the vistas of prosperity and splendor. He also stressed that he will dedicate himself to fulfill his duties to the party as well as the country. The Finance Minister said that he expects the support of everyone for this endeavour.
A number of activists, including teacher and student unions, staged a protest at the Lipton roundabout in Colombo this evening. The protesters demanded authorities to put an end to the oppression of protesters in the guise of implementing quarantine regulations and against the Kotalavala Defence University Bill.
The protest began at the Lipton roundabout at 3 this evening. The Inter-University Student Federation, the Ceylon Teachers Union, the Bank of Ceylon Employees Union, the United Health Workers Union and a number of other trade unions and activists joined the protest. There was very heavy police presence at the Lipton roundabout during the protest.
The policy of Gotabaya Rajapaksa is to sell education. They want to implement this policy through any means necessary. There are plans to implement this, but we would like to clearly state that this is how we are going to defeat these efforts. 31 of our brothers and sisters were taken. After the court released them on bail, the police took them against their will and sent them to a forest camp in Mullaitivu under the guise of implementing quarantine regulations. We demand the government of Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the police of Veerasekara to release these people immediately. If not, we are ready to continue this struggle that we launched today. We will come to Colombo again on the 14th. If they don't listen, we will come to Colombo again on the 16th. We will clash with your government, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and see what happens. We are not afraid of you. We are not afraid of your threats and your oppression. We got onto the streets to show you that we are not afraid. Arrest all of us if you can. Labourers and students in this country can defeat this bill just like they defeated Saitam. When we are demanding our rights and coming to the streets to speak about these issues, the government is oppressing the people. So we would like to ask the government to withdraw the Kothalawala Defence University bill, or these protests will intensify. Stop oppressing the people who are fighting for true problems of the people. If not, the people will take this struggle to the streets.
The protest was staged for about 2 hours, after which the protesters dispersed peacefully.
Teachers and principals trade unions stepped away from the online education programs today as a mark of protest against quarantining of those fellow trade union members even after having been released on bail by courts.
We have given the government their first red light. The government must stop these oppressive acts now. Online education of children has been stopped short. The government must be held responsible for this. We are ready to expand this struggle if the government continues to fail to provide a solution to our salary anomalies and continues to touch free education in our country. We got some good news last evening. We were informed that the education sector administrative staff has also joined our struggle. Everyone in the state sector mechanism have joined with us in this struggle. There is no one against us. The government will now come up with various stories, but we clearly state that this is the reality. We have the power to launch a strong trade union action. That is the reason why teachers and principals stepped away from all online education programs. If these struggles are suppressed, we will take further measures to suspend the procedure of applying online for the advanced level examination and the preparation of identity cards and all other office activities. We would like to inform the government of this.
A habeas corpus petition was filed with the Court of Appeal today by the wife of the propaganda secretary of the Frontline Socialist Party, Duminda Nagamua, seeking an order to be made to produce her husband in court and to release him. The habeas corpus petition notes that Duminda Nagamua was forcibly taken away for quarantine by police despite being granted bail by the court. The habeas corpus petition highlighted that 8 people, including Duminda Nagamua, were arrested by the Slave Island police during a protest on the 7th of July, and they were released on bail by court. Dulani Priyangika, the petitioner, pointed out that 6 people, including her husband, are currently being held at the Pallekele quarantine facility based on the quarantine guidelines issued by the Director General of Health Services. She noted that her husband is being held at the facility despite the PCR test returning negative for COVID-19. The Inspector General of Police, the senior DIG in charge of the Western Province, the Attorney General, as well as the Director General of Health Services have been named as respondents in the petition.
Meanwhile, the Ceylon Teachers Union handed over an epistle to the UN office in Sri Lanka this morning, addressing Michelle Bachelet, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. The epistle was signed by the chairman of the union, Priyantha Fernando, and vice chairman, Rasika Handapanagoda. The letter, signed by the president and the vice president of the union, says that the space of human rights activists to voice their concerns and media freedom is rapidly deteriorating in the country.
Who is responsible for our lives? We were released by the magistrate after being duly produced before courts by the Thalangama police. Following our release, the police took us by force, lifted us by our arms and legs, and shoved us into buses and sent us here. Under whose instructions are we here? Are we not under the judiciary or the legislature of this country? Where are we now? We are now at the Mullaitivu Air Force Base. The officers here do not even know who we are. This is why we are asking, who is responsible for our lives? This is a grave social issue. It is an issue concerning human rights in this country.
Who issued the order for protesters to be directed to quarantine? There is a debate on this matter as well.
The police has never bent the law and acted according to their whims and fancies. The police operated on the instructions of the Director General of Health Services. The Director General of Health Services has the authority to issue orders under the quarantine ordinance. He had issued an order to the Inspector General of Police to put an immediate end to the protest as it affects the spread of COVID-19. We did not quarantine them because the police wanted to do so. We got a written instruction from the PHI to immediately send them to a quarantine center. The police acted accordingly, so no one can criticize the police for doing this. All they did was provide the required facilities.
This was the response of the Ministry of Health.
There
are details on group sizes and maximum number of people that can attend gatherings, but there is no specific mention of protests in the guidelines. We only issue guidelines from the Ministry of Health on how to protect yourself from COVID-19. I think it is the responsibility of the police to enforce it in accordance with the law. If there are such shortcomings in the implementation of those guidelines, it would be more appropriate to question the relevant institutions and authorities. We can provide information on health guidelines, but it is difficult to provide information on such a legal framework. I think all the police officers were vaccinated as a priority group. They must be feeling a sense of safety 2 weeks after the vaccine was administered.
Meanwhile, there was displeasure expressed against the arrest of these protesters even by members of the government.
It is wrong to stage a protest when there are quarantine regulations in place. It is also wrong to take away the protesters like that. I am not satisfied with the methodology used to take them away. In a democratic country, no one can take them away like that against their will. They have to be given clothes and they have to be given a proper place of accommodation. Even though I am a representative of this government, I have to say that this is wrong. We request the government to rectify this. This has to be rectified because you cannot drag people away like that.
I point the finger directly at the police. They have no right to touch any of these people. At no time can the police legally arrest a woman without a female police officer. People have the right to protest. We have no reason to be scared of anyone. The manner in which these women were harassed was an especially unfortunate incident.
Also in local news, Minister of Mass Media Kehelia Rambukwala expressed these views regarding the recent revelation in Parliament made by Leader of the Opposition regarding the media license of Sirasa Media Networks.
I did not act secretly. I hired well-known lawyers across the country for this purpose. I asked their legal opinions on various matters that were to be seen on certain channels. This is the most just and law-abiding course of action that I could have taken and that I am continuing to take. If there are further incidents regarding the matter, further action will be taken with no hesitation.
Kehelia Rambukwala should be mindful of his interpretation as to what happened. Was it a secret discussion or an open discussion? Even the preschool children in this country would know the difference between a secret discussion and an open discussion. One thing that he, along with his government, should keep in mind is that the reason behind information coming out from their secret meetings is because there are people in that faction who are disappointed about the government's conduct. I take complete responsibility when I say that something of this nature has taken place, and I take full responsibility for what I said. If it was done openly, Kehelia Rambukwala could have told the media that they had held such a meeting and such decisions were taken at the meeting. But we did not see that happening. This clearly is a secret attempt of the government to suppress the media. The views I expressed in Parliament were centred around the Sirasa Media Network because they are laying the groundwork to launch a suppression campaign against Sirasa. One thing that all of us should keep in mind when talking about Sirasa is that they were the only channel that telecast the banner during the tenure of Mahinda Rajapaksa. Also, Sirasa never fails to highlight the plight of the people of this country. like the problems related to the vaccination drive, the fuel price hike, problems regarding online education, the environmental destruction caused by the MV Express Pearl tragedy, issues faced by the fishing community, and the fertilizer crisis in the country. When media is reporting on the plight of the people of this country, the government, which has not seen these issues, can look into these. The politicians must know that the people sent them there to serve the people. When that is not happening, the people will take to the streets. When the people take to the streets to express their woes, the media, including the Sirasa Media Network, have taken steps to report that. No one has the right to oppress any media station. We all know how they try to destroy Sirasa by bombing their station. The same thing was done to Siyata as well. None of the media outlets should go through this. The policy against independent media must be followed same as before. We are disgusted by two-faced politics where you smile and talk with the media when you are in the opposition and try to overpower the media when you are in power. We urge them to talk straight and work straight. They should know to fulfill their promise they made to the people.
Discussions were held in Parliament regarding the media, especially the mooted revocation of Sirasa's broadcasting license. It was said at the time that there was no such discussion, saying that this government would not cancel any broadcasting licenses. But now the Minister of Mass Media, Kehli Rambukwella, has stated that there is in fact a discussion that took place and that lawyers were consulted on the possibility of cancelling these licenses. This is also very clear at first glance. They can show some law in the country that has been violated and cancel the broadcasting licenses. But it is very clear that they are seeking political revenge. Just like they are trying to suppress protesters using quarantine regulations, they are attempting to use some archaic laws and silence the voice of the media. Now they are depriving the people, the media and all other activists of their right to even wear a face mask and voice their concerns. So we believe that there is a serious issue on the democratic rights of people in Sri Lanka and we need to unite and face this together.
රටේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී අයිතීන් සම්බන්ධ ඉතාම බරපතල තත්ත්වයක් උද්ගත වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපි ඔක්කොමලා එකට එකතු වෙලා මේකට මුහුණ දිය යුතුව තියෙනවා කියලා.
6 mass media associations convened a joint media briefing today.
ආණ්ඩුව සිරස මාධ්‍ය
It was clearly highlighted in Parliament that the government is carrying out a plot of some sort against Sirasa Media. The government was unable to make a proper response to this allegation. They burned Siyata, they burnt Sirasa. They set off claymore bombs at Sirasa. They burned down the Sunday leader. Multiple members of this government were in the ruling party in the period between 2005 and 2015 when the media was heavily oppressed. The present rulers of the nation are connected to those who carried out these attacks. This is why we suspect that what is happening now are signs that the country is turning back to the time between 2005 and 2015 where the media was subject to brutal oppression.
යලි ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමටද කියන ප්‍රශ්නය අපිට බරපතල ලෙස මතුවෙනවා. මේ ආණ්ඩුවේ වැරදි ක්‍රියාමාර්ග.
We will have to seek international assistance to rectify the mistakes of this government in the future. We believe other media institutions will also have to face attacks similar to those against Sirasa and Siyata today. Therefore, we want to make clear to media institutions to take the side of the public, be an outlet that discusses the real issues of the people. Otherwise, the people will reject your media institution.
We do not know what the future will hold. They have already pointed the finger at Sirasa. They will attack other media institutions in a similar manner. We do have a history like that. We cannot tell if history will repeat itself.
A protest organised by the Samagi Jana Balavegya against the fertilizer crisis, increase in cost of living, suppression of media and a number of other matters was staged today.
The protest was staged in Ambalanthotta. A group of opposition MPs of the Maskaliya Pradesha Sabha staged a protest today. The protest was staged demanding for solutions to the fertilizer crisis, rise in the cost of living and media suppression.
Farmers in Uvaparanagama Valimada carried out a protest by creating a commotion using the equipment used for their farming activities. They were demanding for a solution to the fertilizer problem. Today we are closing our mouths and making a sound using this equipment. We will shout using the mamati and the iron rod. We are agitating and these people are protesting, demanding for fertilizer to nourish their cultivations. There is no fertilizer. These innocent farmers earn a living through farming. This is my paddy field. It has become barren. Come here and see these farmers. They have no fertilizer. We do not care if it is chemical fertilizer or organic fertilizers. We ask you to provide us with suitable fertilizers. This is Manik Divela in Yatinuwara in Kandy. These tea nurseries supply tea saplings to the Kandy district as well as the Kegal district. However, due to the current shortage of fertilizer, many tea plants are at risk of being destroyed. Now it's been about 3 months since these bags were filled. There is no methyl sodium in the market. If not done on time, it is not possible to plant these properly. One side dies and the other side turns pink and yellow. Pink means the plant begins to perish. These are nothing but dollars. This is what Europeans refer to as the hens that lay golden eggs. A farmer from Mahavilachia also staged a protest on the roof of the bus stand at the Pamadu junction in Vilachia today. My God, is there no arsenic in imported rice? Is there no arsenic in imported flour? People today are scared. Will they have to go into quarantine for 14 days or will they have to go to jail for 14 days?
A protest demanding solutions to the fertilizer crisis was launched at the All Island Farmers Federation in Kalpitia today.
On one hand, the government must provide suitable fertilizer to the farmers. On the other hand, they claim that they will pay compensation for the loss caused. Kindly begin paying compensation immediately. Look at the plant nursery around us. It is completely destroyed. You must pay compensation for this. Some of these cultivations have been damaged partially, others have been destroyed completely. We have not been able to reap a good harvest. Please pay compensation for these damages. Do not try to oppress us or distract us with other issues and postpone this. Provide relief to the farming community without pressurizing them any further. It does not matter if it is chemical or organic fertilizer. Provide proper fertilizer to the farmers free of charge, as was promised.
An American company, Newsfirst Energy, has stated that it is in talks to buy a 40% stake in the Kerawalapitiya Yugadanavi power plant. They say that a preliminary agreement has been reached to supply liquefied natural gas, also known as LNG, for the plant, which is already constructed in Kerawalapitiya.
The majority of the shares at the Kerawalapitiya Yugadanavi power plant are currently owned by Ceylon Electricity Board subsidiaries and the General Treasury. It was built as a dual-cycle power plant and is currently operating on heavy fuel. According to Newsfirst.lk Energy website, it has been planned to store and supply LNG to this power plant using a terminal constructed offshore near the city of Colombo. At present, this plant is adding 300 megawatts of power to the national grid and it is proposed to expand the capacity of electricity generating using LNG to 1000 megawatts by 2025. Wes Eden, President and CEO of the Newsfirst Energy USA, says that the investment in Sri Lanka's first LNG terminal will contribute to clean energy generation as well as sustainable development for Sri Lanka's vibrant economy. This was the response given by the Minister of Energy, Udaya Gammanpila, when questioned about this matter.
බිලියන 23කට ආසන්න මුදල් ප්‍රමාණයකින් ණයක් අරගෙන තමයි.
This has been made by sourcing funds worth 23 billion rupees. By 2022, that is next year, the loan will be settled. This is an institution that is making profit at the moment. We questioned the government repeatedly on why Mike Pompeo came to this country. I say with responsibility that one of the main reasons why Mike Pompeo came to Sri Lanka was to finalize the purchase of this power plant. They have put a press release on their website.
ඇමරිකාවට මිලදී ගන්න. ප්‍රෙස් රිලීස් එකක් දාලා තියෙන මේ සමාගමේ වෙබ්සයිට් එකේ New Fortress Energy and the Government of Sri Lanka sign agreement for LNG terminal and gas supply power plants. එතකොට මේ සමාගම
So the purchase of this plant has hidden with it the LNG power. The supply of LNG to this country has also been handed over to this company.
මේ රටට ගෙන මේ කොන්ත්‍රාත්තුව මේ සමාගමට ලබා දෙන්න කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා.
Udaya Gammanpila, the leader of the Pivithuruhela Urumaya party, which is a party affiliated with the government, convened a media briefing today. The minister responded to questions raised by the journalists regarding the criticisms levelled against him by certain members of the government.
Out කරගන්න සෑහෙන try කරනවා. තාම නොදවි ක්‍රීඩා කරනවා. දන්නවද දිගු ඉනුමක රාස තමයි සෑම පන්දුවටම පිට නොදා සිටීම.
They are struggling to get me out, but I'm still unbeaten at the wicket. The key to a long innings is not to throw the bat at every delivery. If I stop to throw stones at all the barking dogs, I will not be able to go on my journey. I will let the dogs bark and continue on my journey.
සිංහලෙන් කියනවා කියමනක් ලියන්න තිබෙන මල්ල ඔබා බලනු කුමටෑ කියලා. එක දෙයක් මං කියන්න. මේ විශ්වාස
I have to say one thing about this no confidence motion. Regardless of the result of the no confidence motion, I am the winner. If the no confidence motion is defeated, the government would have reaffirmed their confidence in the man who executed a policy decision. If the no confidence motion is passed, the message to the people will be that I am a great political figure in the history of the country, as both the government and the opposition had to band together to defeat me.
Up next is a special segment by Newsfirst in line with the National Archaeology Week. Today we bring to your attention the Fahian Lena cave site in Kaluthara.
Protect our heritage.
Hidden in the wet zone forests of the Kaluthara district, under the Yatigampitiya village in Bulat Sinhala, is a cave that holds secrets spanning millennia. Fahian Lena is an important beacon in Sri Lanka's history since it holds evidence of prehistoric man from 48,000 years ago. Archaeological research has shown that occupants of the Fahian Lena cave had developed bow and arrow technology, the oldest use of this technology outside of Africa. Among the evidence found that proves the evolved status of our prehistoric man are bone-carved arrowheads, geometric instruments built using stone fragments, and other instruments built out of animal teeth and bones. These safe havens that enlighten our prehistoric legacy needs to be protected. It is ours to protect for future generations.
Protect our heritage.
27,000 US manufactured Pfizer vaccines were brought down to the country today. Accordingly, this is the second stock of Pfizer vaccines that Sri Lanka received.
The stock of vaccines were imported as two stocks, one with 26,000 vaccines and another containing 1,000 vaccines. The first half of the stock of vaccines was brought down through a Qatar Airlines flight, while the rest were brought down on board a Sri Lankan Airlines flight. The stock of vaccines that need to be stored below -70 degrees were brought to the Narahimpita National Blood Transfusion Centre this morning. State Minister Channa Jayasumana said the stock of vaccines that arrived today will be used to inoculate the residents of the Mana district. Previously, 26,000 Pfizer doses were brought down to the country and were used to inoculate people of the Mana district and students who were preparing to travel abroad. Meanwhile, the inoculation of teachers began today.